Alright, folks, we've been streaming for 7.5 hours, so I feel like we've come to the part of the stream where I can actually talk about my first impressions of launch day for Baldur's Gate 3. So for those of you who are in the chat, if you want to participate, feel free to throw your thoughts into the mix. We'll see them up here on the screen. I am recording this portion of the video to just talk about, what are my first impressions of launch day. Um, getting into this game for the first time to see the real Baldur's Gate 3 after all this time in early access, I will say it's the longest I've ever played an early access for ever. I usually, if I'm playing early access, it might be, you know, uh, it might be a few months at most. It's usually not going to be so long of a period of time. But in this case, we've been blessed enough to be able to spend, close to 3 years in early access. By the way, I love my staff, guys. I told you with my druid I was going to be searching a really cool staff, and you got to admit that is a really cool staff. So, what are my first impressions? Love to hear your thoughts as we go along, everybody. But for me, the first thing I noticed right away was that I think that the graphics look smoother. Um, the performance is definitely a lot better than it was in early access, and I'm on a fairly older system. I have a 1080, and I'm running it at the 60 FPS mode. It's been much better than it was in early access. The 33% thing, um, because they said that everything we've seen in Act 1, we would see roughly 33% more of during the actual playthrough. Is that number true? You know, I can't specifically say if that number is true because I don't have enough data at my fingertips to say yes or no. It's it's 15.6% of what I've seen today has been new. Um, I think that I've definitely seen a lot of new things. Here's an example. This entire camp layout is completely new. Each one of your party members having their own tent. Like here's Gale over here. Over here is Asterion. Here's Lae'zel. Here's Withers. Where did Shadowheart is around here somewhere? Um, oh yeah, she's over here in the corner. So everybody gets their own little tent, which I think is really cool. And there's been little things like that, just moments during conversations. For those of you who've been around for a while, when I do the big bad boss fights as an example, there's that one encounter when you first come across the two true souls with their dead brother in front of the owlbear cave. That was a completely new cutscene for me. Cutscene, not cutscene. That was a cutscene, man. Um, Entirely new cutscene there that I had never seen before. There have been quite a few conversation options that I haven't seen before. What else? New spells, of course. As an example, I just played the Forest Dome Druid through, whatever it was, like 3-4 weeks ago. And as an example, Ice Knife is now a spell. This is one of the new spells that got added, which, by the way, Ice Knife rocks for my Druid. And I feel like overall, the Circle of the Moon pet forms, your companion forms, not your companion forms, but your wild shape forms, do a little bit more damage. You have a little more hit points. They scale. So I'd say there's a lot more refinement on the UI front. You can see up here on the top left, we've got all new character portraits, which is really cool. DJ North just said loading saves is indefinitely faster. I'll say that's for sure because I'm on an older solid state drive, and I would say save times are half of what they were in early access. They're still a little longer, and I recognize that my load times are probably because this is a 6-year-old solid state drive, 7-year-old solid state drive, so it's not the latest with the most RPMs. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that's been improved. Controller support. DJ, aren't you the one who was saying earlier that you've been playing with controller today? I haven't tried out controller support yet, but it is in the game. If you actually bring up the options, you can go. This is what I love. I think it's in interface. Input mode is automatic. Let your game automatically detect your controller or choose to use a specific input device, which I love this fact because it means that you can seamlessly switch between controller and mouse and keyboard. It's just which one did you move? Did you move a thumb pad? You're on the controller. Did you move the mouse? You're on the mouse and keyboard. Did you hit a button? You're on the keyboard. Um, I haven't tested it out today, but one of the reasons, for those of you who've been around for a while, I sprained my finger about 6 weeks ago, and I'm still keeping it taped and everything. And I've talked a lot about in the past how I have tendonitis in this hand really bad, and I much prefer playing with controllers. And I have my Xbox Series X controller here, and I will be testing this out tomorrow when I load up the Sorcerer to start working on that character offline. Um, so I know that the controller support is there. A lot of people really like the controller support. Um, I love the difficulty options. I've been playing on Explorer mode, which is easy mode, because I spent all of early access, like 3 years, playing it on hard mode, with or without karmic dice, trying those two. And I will say that if you watch the stream today, for those of you who want to go back and watch it later on, it's a long stream. I don't expect you to watch the whole thing. We still died on several of the encounters. We still had to reload a few times. There were far fewer reloads than on a normal playthrough. Like last night when we did the very last stream of early access, I'm recording this on the launch day, and when we did the very last, we did True Soul Nair with my rogue at level 5 down there in the bottom of the Underdark, and that fight was still, I think we failed 3 times in a row. In each try was 20 minutes, before we finally succeeded. So I've definitely noticed fewer reloads, as it were. So that's been good. Um, there's been a lot of new dialogue with Shadowheart, Gale, and Lae'zel, which are the party members that I'm taking through the game. They're all at we're at the camp right now. Asterion has new dialogue. Will is completely new. I don't have him at the camp yet because I was undecided um, about whether or not to bring him, knowing that I'm probably going to side with Karlach, and his storyline is now very much tied to Karlach. And so I have to figure out. I'll probably go back and pick him up and have him come back to the camp just so I have him here so I can see how that interaction plays out when I bring Karlach into the camp. But there's tons of new dialogue that I haven't ever seen before. The game looks and feels a lot smoother than early access, so obviously all of their optimization panned out. I'm on a 1080 and I'm not having really any issues. I've seen a couple of times when the frames have dropped, but it has been during really big fights or when it's trying to load a bunch of stuff at the same time, which is a hardware issue, not an optimization issue. Recognizing that I'm on the lower end of the specs. DJ North just said, Xbox controller, I can switch from mouse to controller, and I never ever used it before except for driving games. It's amazing. Highly recommend it. Well, that's awesome because I'm definitely going to do controller tomorrow when I create the Sorcerer, and I'll be doing a guide video and review of the controller. What's up, everybody? Quick commercial break here to give it a shout out to our guild champions, who are the highest tier memberships here on YouTube: Ancient Entity, Assassin Gamer 94, Bubalonia Rising, Crazy's Relative, Mujin, and Remedy. Thanks so much for the highest tier membership, and thanks to all of the members who support the channel, because you keep me doing this full time. You too can become a supporter if you're new here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Join as a member. There's 3 different tiers. We do lots of special stuff: private polls, private videos. You get a shout out if you're the highest tier membership, but you can also do one-off donations in the form of super chats on any live stream or premiere you see, and of course super thanks on any upload or YouTube short. Whatever you can contribute, it's great. Keeps me on the air full time, keeps the cats fed, keeps the homestead running. Anyway, back to the video, everybody. For those of you who want to know more, because I highly anticipate that I'll probably be playing with the controller 85% of the time, at least for moving around, because I don't like the idea of having a mouse click and everything else. I like just being able to move around the map, and being able to do that is probably going to be to my benefit. And then I'll probably use mouse and keyboard for like really complex fights. It just depends on how it plays out. So thanks for that tidbit, DJ. That's really good to know. So overall, first impressions on launch day of Baldur's Gate 3. I downloaded the game. My internet is a little bit slower, so it took me about an hour and a half to download, but I got it downloaded and installed with 0 issues, got right into the game. No hitching, no issues. I've been streaming 7.5 hours. We haven't had a single crash, no bugs that I've seen so far. The only thing I will say are there have been a couple hiccups with animations in cutscenes, and I mean tiny little things that I barely notice. And it may be related to my older hardware not loading a cutscene quick enough, and so it kind of hiccups just a little bit. So I can't speak to whether or not that's an optimization issue or just an older hardware issue. But otherwise, the game looks, feels, and plays great. It's definitely everything I wanted it to be. And I mean, we're only in 7.5 hours at this point, and I gotta say, it's 10 out of 10 for me. 10 out of 10. Can't recommend it enough. I had so much fun in early access, and it's already paying off in spades with everything that we've seen so far. And even though I still hold to my original critique of wishing I had 6 total party members instead of only having 4 party members, I feel like what they've done, what Larian Studios has done with those 4 party members, is rich enough and vast enough that I'm not going to notice it. I'm not even noticing it really anymore as much as I used to, although I will still comment on it from time to time. So I think for my money's worth, everybody, yeah, 10 out of 10 first impressions for launch day. Obviously, as we get deeper into this, I'll have more thoughts and a review and everything else. If you're tuned into the live stream, awesome. If you haven't already watched the live stream and you're here for the first time watching this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We are live pretty much every day at 11 a.m. Central, as long as there's no internet issues or storms. And usually every day at 5 p.m. Central, we release a big bad boss fight or encounter from one of our live streams. And we're doing the Druid right now. This is an online only character, so I will be 100%ing this Druid through the game in live streams. And I fully anticipate this to be a 3 to 4 month journey. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you follow along for all the live streams. And I will also be playing a Drow Sorcerer offline, which is my alternate playthrough, which I'll be using to create a bunch of other guides with. And then, of course, I'm doing the Bard in the multiplayer sessions with Mujin and Babylonia, who I think they're still in chat. They might still be lurking. It's getting pretty late, though. But those are going to be on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Central. We'll be streaming those sessions, so hopefully we'll see you those as well. And don't forget Starfield and Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, and all the things we're going to be doing into the fall. All the shows we're reviewing, like Star Wars and Star Trek and Foundation and Silo and everything else. Check out the playlists. Join the Discord. And everybody who's watching this as an episode, we'll see you next time. Live stream, we're continuing onwards, so stick around.